So hi everyone, great to be with you. I think we are a nice audience today. It's one of the topics that obviously we've heard a lot about the last couple of years, last couple of months actually, not even years. But what I wanted to say today is we've heard a lot, essentially because also it has come from some of the big techs that buying this generative AI. And what I wanted to bring a bit to life today, a bit differently, is actually what is the specialized tech doing about it. And I'm super excited that we have Domino to talk about it, because what we have is we have a bit of a world that is divided in two parts. You have the big tech doing the generative AI where you lose your data in generative AI. And there is some more specialized technologies where you actually built a very, sovereign way to do generative AI. And I didn't want to go too much into the philosophy of generative AI. I think it has been covered a lot. And what I wanted is to give you, before we invite Shell to talk us about how they do it at Domino, I wanted to give you a few demos, examples of how we've seen it playing a role for businesses. So so nothing about the big theory. So I'm going to switch through a couple of first slides that we had on theory, but honestly very quickly. So obviously what is great about generative AI, it can use a lot of different types of data. And not only you can use it as an input, but you can also generate it. And we're going to see how generative AI generates data, because it's generative AI, right? So a lot of businesses, what they have is they have concerns about the data that they have, and the data is not available, and the data is difficult to get access to, and the data is not in the right quality, and the data is missing, and this and that. And we're going to discuss it actually with Michelle also a little bit later from Nissan about that challenge of getting the right data in. But actually generative AI, I'm going to see it in the demo just in a second, is also helping generating data for the business to operate in a data-driven way. And that input then is used in a number of ways for output, and we're going to illustrate it. What it's not very good at doing a number of things that AI was great at doing before. So it's not very good at, for example, doing statistics, doing correlations, doing predictions. However, when you think about what it's good for, it's good at summarizing texts, it's good at generating images, and so on. But what is the best of generative AI is it's just another piece of AI. So when we think about use cases, and we're going to see an illustration of that again a bit later, is it needs to be combined with other things. So a lot of technologies have been creating generative AI as a part of that technology, right? So it's kind of like if you go to, just to mention a few, ChatGPT, Vertex AI. The good thing is it's great generative AI platforms, but then the question is, how do I couple that with, for example, a knowledge graph? How do I couple that with, for example, a prediction for demand prediction? How do I couple that with a predictive maintenance tool that needs to be very accurate in terms of what's going to happen with a specific device in a couple of months? So all these things needs to be coupled with generative AI. Otherwise, you're always going to be either on one side of this graph, on the other side of this graph. And what you want is you want to have both. So I'm going to be a bit quick. So there are a couple of demos that we could have brought today. But these are essentially all the areas that we see are being quite important today in businesses. So there's an element of content that I think we all know from ChatGPT, right? There's an element of client service. And the reason for that is it's super important to be able to deal with the vast variety of data that you have in client services. When you think about it, and it's not one of the demos that we had, but we are working with a delivery company that needs to go through customs. And customs, a lot of rules, a lot of PDFs to fill in, a lot of back and forth between different services of what's happening, why is my parcel not going through customs the right time, etc. So customer service is a very heavy human-powered world. But when you think about generative AI, it can actually automate a lot of that. So you want to fill in PDFs, it can actually do it with just some context from a conversation that you had on the phone. You want to be able to understand what is regulation on customs that can help you clear customs. Generative AI can help you with that. You want to, instead of go through a very lengthy FAQ, really understand how do I send a parcel from UK to Germany. It's going to give you the step-by-step process to do that instead of going through a very lengthy FAQ. So there's a great potential for generative AI, what we see in client services. New data is something I wanted to talk a bit later in one of the demos, so I'm going to keep that for later. And then the last part of generative AI which is another big trend, is mass. And I leave that for Shell to tell us a bit more about mass. I don't want to say anything now, But I think it's something that is a very interesting concept from Domino and from the market, generally speaking, but I think which makes Domino a very, like specific platform on the market, which is that today data science is seen as, I'm a data scientist, I'm going to develop my own things. And in all companies, every data scientist just focuses on developing his own thing. The question is, how do we team up as a data science team? When we have companies that have got 500, 600, 700 data scientists in a company, how do we team up on the intelligence that we create together? So Samsung is about, FAQ. So it's probably an area where we've all got, as a consumer, a little bit of a frustration with. We go on a website, want to understand, okay, when will I get my delivery done? What about this product? What about this? And so we have many questions I want to ask. So, but the problem is, how do we navigate the FAQ to find the right information? So Samsung was about showing how generative AI could help you find the right information very quickly, instead of having to go through the lots of pages of the FAQ and the different pages that they have. So the first question is a question where you have a very basic situation. You've bought a phone. How do I, move my old phone contacts to it? So it's a question you will see where in a typical FAQ, this has been anticipated by the team building the FAQ. And so as a result, you're probably going to find a good article to do it. Then the question is, if I have a good article, how does generative AI compare to a good article? The second question is, I dropped my new phone by accident, what to do? So this is something that maybe this FAQ team didn't really anticipate you to ask, but obviously there's always things about insurances, broken phones, etc. So they have a lot of content that could actually match with it. What do they do and how do they interpret that question to be able to answer it properly? The last example is about something a bit more niche, right? So you have got a very specific service from Samsung, which is the insurance policy, and you want to be able to cancel it. So then, it's something that maybe Samsung doesn't really want you to do. They don't want you to do it. So how does the FAQ react? Something that they don't want you to do. So that's the last part. So what you see is, so we've gone on the website of Samsung then, and we've asked those questions. So we've said, okay, so here's the online support. We've said, okay, I bought your new phone. How do you mold my old phone to the new phone? So here what you have is, you see that they answer one very interesting article here that actually quite close to what I wanted. And here you have a big answer with videos and this and that. And then we've got to a little bit our Samsung demo interface here, and we've asked the same thing to generative AI. And generative AI is coming back with something that is probably less of a long article, but what you can see is a very, very simple answer with a link to a different page than the page that was here. But what you've got is you've got the exact case where you talk about the old phone and the new phone. So it's not only how do you transfer to your contacts, how do you put your contacts into Samsung phone, but it's exactly the exact case that you are looking for. So that's one. The second question is a question where you drop the phone by accident. So you put that in, you ask the same thing again, and Samsung tells you how do you pair and set up your Galaxy Buds, which is completely unrelated to it. And then and if you ask the same on the same set of data, right, that is coming from the same FAQ, the same question that you ask. So I drop my phone, what do I do? You ask, and then what is great is actually what you see is you add the answer into the Samsung website, where it says actually you have Samsung Care Plus for your phone, so you can claim and file, with Samsung to be able to repair and replace it. And then the last one about how many days to cancel my insurance policy for free. So you ask it, and then what you will see is it understands that you don't have anything that talks about insurance policy for free. But when you ask it to generative AI, so you have a 14-day cool-off period, etc., which means that you can cancel your policy for 15 days of the purchase and receive full refund. So you see that what is very interesting is, the same content, just with a different way to address that, you've got actually much more quality of answer with generative AI than you would have with typical FAQ. So that was it. There was the two demos I wanted to show you today. I hope you liked the practicality of it. We wanted to make it a bit of a live thing for everyone and what companies actually can do in real life with generative AI.